Good morning, I'm Brad Phillips. I'm here with Puppy Steps Training, and today we have Jane with us, going to be doing her demonstration. Like always, we'll go through all 5 phases of our program. We'll start with our socialization, then we'll do our manners, then our obedience commands, and then our house training and leash training. So before we get into that though, just a couple things that I like to tell everyone. If you've seen any of the other demonstrations, you know that I mention this all the time, but the secret to dog training, the secret to success with her when you bring her home is going to be consistency. Make sure that you are consistent in giving her feedback, which is rewarding her when necessary as well as correcting her when necessary. Now, the reward-based, it is a reward-based program, and so we do use 3 types of rewards. Food, which is a very high motivator, toys, and compassion. And so she thrives off of all 3. Definitely food is a higher motivator, just because, she's an animal, she's very driven by that. So that's going to be huge. Of course, when you do reward, if you're doing commands, you will use the word OK, which is our marker and our release word. Marks the correct behavior, releases from a stay. Now, on the other hand, if she does something wrong, that correction is no or nope. Now, we use that somewhat on a misdemeanor or felony type of deal. So if she does something wrong, regardless of what it is, she is going to get corrected. Now, the severity of the correction is dependent upon the behavior. So if she does something simple, like she breaks a stay, I'll tell her no, and I'll have her do it again. Whereas if she did something a little bit more serious, she tried to steal food out of my hand, she jumped up, then I'm going to be a lot more firm in the way that I present that correction. And so I do that by adjusting my voice fluctuation and my body language. And so I'm going to give her a real firm no, and then once again, I'll have her perform the correct behavior. It's always important that you end on a correct behavior. That way you're teaching them what is acceptable to you. Now, Jane is just a wonderful puppy. She's just got a really fun personality. She does get really excited easily, and so exercise is going to be important to her. But also it's important that you set the standard off right. And so the one thing that you have to really kind of set precedence with is her jumping. And so we've spent a lot of time on that, and she's done really well. But if she does get jumpy, just remember to have her sit and get her kind of calmed down. And we'll go through that in detail in just a minute. Just wanted to make you aware of that, so when it does come up, that you can be prepared and know how to deal with it. So now we'll talk about the socialization for a minute, and then we'll get her out. And so the socialization, that is the most important thing to me, and we do that right off the bat. We make sure that we get our puppies around as many new situations as possible, but we do it in a controlled environment. That way, if they do seem hesitant, we can really back off the distraction and make it more positive. We can get down there, ease them into the situation, pet them, give them treats, make it so that instead of being uncomfortable in a negative experience, it turns over to a very positive experience. That way also we can get them to be more engaged with us. The positivity of the situation comes from them switching their focus from this loud noise or this new animal to us, and then it's very positive. So we do get them around different animals, different people, places, sounds, textures, just as many new things as we possibly can during that. And we continue that socialization throughout the program, making sure that we do commands in new places or on new surfaces with greater distractions. And so that way we can really make sure that we have a well-rounded dog, and we're not going to be dealing with any severe anxiety, timidness, or aggressive behaviors. So now we will jump right into our manners. Now the first manner we're going to talk about is her gates and her doorways. And so I'm going to let her out of the crate, and anytime she goes through a crate door, a house door, or a kennel door, I expect her to stay. It should be an automatic behavior. However, she is still a puppy, and so there is going to be some times where they might test the water, or they're growing and maturing, and they need to make sure that you expect the same expectation as I do. And so if she were to break, I might simply close the door, might lift my leg up. It wouldn't be unless she was really persistent on pushing her way out that I would actually tell her to stay. So it should be an automatic behavior. Now again, I will use our release word. Okay, good girl. Now I'll show you the house door when we go outside, but we'll just kind of carry on. Her next manner is actually what she just did right there. And so if I call her over, Jaden, come here. Come here. Before I give her any attention, I expect her to sit. That way, she's not going to be jumping on me. She's going to be planted on the floor. She won't be wrapping you up with a leash. But she'll also make eye contact with you. And that's the most important thing right there, is if a dog makes eye contact with you, you know that they're focused on you and they're not distracted by everything that's around. So that's going to be one of those manners that I would expect, but it might take just a little bit to, okay, which we are going to run her outside. She has been in the crate a little bit, so I expect her to wait. Okay. Okay. So going back to that greeting, that's one of the first signs that I look for to see that the transition has really started. It's showing that she's starting to present you with a little bit of respect. That leadership is starting to transition over. And so that's just a great sign once she starts really offering that up. That is just really, really good. So that transition period is often about 2 to 4 weeks. During that time, you can just expect that she's under some stress, and you need to be patient with her. Don't expect her to the exact same standard we are, but still expect the manners. So, and I'll talk about that transition throughout the program. So, yeah. Come here. Good girl. Good girl. So the next manner we are going to talk about is her mealtime manner. Okay. And so anytime I feed her, I expect her to hold a sit stay. And so where she just sat down, I'm just going to ask her to stay. Now, because the meal is such a high motivator, it's a great time to really work on these stays. We add what we call the 3 Ds, and that's distance, duration, and distraction. Talking is a huge distraction. Of course, duration, time, distance between you and them in the food bowl, things like that. So, okay, good girl. Now, I also like to make sure that she's not going to be aggressive with me near her during her mealtime. I want to make sure that she's not going to nip at me if my hands go down in the food bowl or if I pet her. Periodically, I will also just throw in a treat. That way it's more rewarding with me right here than concerning. Sometimes I will take the food bowl away and I'll have her do another sit stay, and you can really do a handful of repetitions with her meal. But most importantly, I want to make sure that she's not food aggressive. Good girl. Good girl. Now, going along that same lines, I want to make sure that she's not aggressive in any way. And so whether that's over her body, like if I'm handling her paws, tail, ears, muzzle, I just want to make sure that she's comfortable with that. She doesn't have any issues there. Also, making sure that I handle her when she's chewing on like a bully stick or a toy. I want to make sure that she's alright with me being around. And I will show you that here in just a second. But she's just done wonderfully. She's not an aggressive dog. So, however, with children is the one time that aggression gets, or just even their excitement gets mistaken for aggression. Because kids are like the greatest thing in the world. They run, they squeal, they make things just a lot of fun. Puppy wants to play, ends up grabbing a pant leg or an arm, or runs a child over, and then your next door neighbor thinks your dog bit their kid, and you have just kind of a mess on your hands. So I make a rule that anytime kids are playing with my dog, they have a toy. Something that she can go after if they get nervous, they can throw that toy, or if she were to look for something to grab onto, she'd grab onto the toy and not a pant leg. Come here. Drop it. Good girl. Now, just real quick, going along that aggression stuff, these bully sticks are one of her favorite things. And so, especially where it's that high value of a reward, I want to make sure that she's going to be alright with me being right here, where she's going to try and take it into her crate. But I should be able to touch her, grab the stick, drop it, good girl, and have her not be aggressive or getting defensive with me there. No. Also, I don't want her to lunge and take it, and so I want her to be very gentle. Good girl. Good girl. Drop it. So just real quick, since you've seen me do it about 3 times, we'll talk about drop it. So that manner, as well as, I guess you could consider it a command, she's done very, very well with. And so what I expect is just that she's going to physically release whatever it is she has. And so she has this bully stick. If I ask her to drop it, good girl, I expect her to let me have it. So I'm going to close the crate just so she won't run in there with it. Now if she had something that she just really didn't want to give up, there's a couple things you can do. And we'll go from just the easiest to a little bit more difficult. But if she had this and she didn't want to give it up, I would just hold it on both sides. And I just hold it really still so she's not allowed to pull it, she's not allowed to chew it. It's just really boring to her. And so a lot of times I'll just let go of it. Also, if she had it there and she didn't give it up, I could just turn my knuckles in and just pinch her lips against her canines, just causing just a little bit of discomfort. You don't have to jam them in there at all, but a lot of times they'll just spit it out because of that. Now the third thing, come here, is if she just really has something that she doesn't want to let go of, I'm just going to sneak my thumb in. Hey, maybe if I can get her just to look at me. Stick my thumb in right between her canines and her molars and press down on her tongue. Nope. And yeah, you'll just press down, which she hates it, but luckily you shouldn't have to do that because she should just drop it. No. Gently. Come here. Come here. And every once in a while also just, I would, ask her to drop it. And when she gives it up, give her a reward, just so it's not always that you're taking stuff away from her. Same thing with toys. I ask her to drop it, I'll throw it again, just so it's more positive than it is negative. Good girl. Now, the next 2 manners that I am going to talk about are ones that you do have to just really enforce right off the bat. For the next couple days, you're going to want to go easy on the commands, just because you don't want to overly stress her out. But these manners just have to be an expectation. You just can't let her get away with them. And so the first one we're going to talk about is jumping. Like I mentioned earlier, she was a very, very jumpy puppy. And so we spent a lot of time on that. Come here. And that's why, one, it's important that you enforce the greeting, get her sitting down. But if she were to jump, whether she tried to jump on you or up on the couch, I tell her off and expect her to get down. And the other thing you can do is we do have one physical correction, which is a leash correction. So if you have a hold of her, maybe you're going for a walk, and she were to try and jump, I'd give her a leash correction, which is just 2 pops on the leash. You're not trying to yank her back, but it's just 2 snaps on the leash, just making basically your precedence known, and then accompanying it with the correction, whether you say no, or in this case, if she's jumping, I'll say off. It's also important to remember that if a dog's running up to you and you think they're going to jump, it's important that you never step backwards. As soon as you step backwards, it's a game. You're encouraging them to jump. Instead, you always want to step into the jump. That way you're restricting the space. A lot of times you're going to throw them off to where they won't jump anyway, but then if they do jump, they're going to be straight up, and I'm going to block them with my knee. You want to catch them right in the chest and then tell them off. So we spent a lot of time on that. Every once in a while she will still kind of jump out in front of us, but she's done well with not putting her feet or her paws on me, as well as the other trainers, but that's something you just have to set a precedence with right off the bat. So dogs do have this pack mentality, and so sometimes they will think that one of your family members is lower than them in that pack, and that's going to be the person that they try and jump on. And so if that were to happen, I would take her by the leash, and I'd have that person call her over. I'd walk her up. If she were to jump, I'd give her 2 taps on the leash, tell her off, and I'd turn around and walk the other direction. After she kind of regains her composure on you, turn around, do it again. You usually only have to do that 4 or 5 times, and I'll do that until that she approaches and then sits and offers that greeting. Once she offers that greeting, it's really rewarding. You go down, you pet her, tell her good girl, give her lots of loves, treats, make sure that she understands that that's the behavior that you're looking for. Good girl, good girl. So the next manner we're going to talk about is chewing. Chewing is one of those behaviors that has to happen. She just has to chew, and it's because she's going to be teething. She's going to be cutting molars as well as losing those baby teeth. And so she's going to need to chew. And so we train on a base of avoiding and replacing. If you can avoid giving her free access to toys, to shoes, to things that you don't want her to chew on, of course, that's the best way to prevent an accident from happening. However, it's not really possible. You're always going to have something in your home that she has access to. And so that's where replacing comes in. If she went up and started chewing on a table leg or just something hard, I'd give her something like that bully stick that she can chew on. If she went up and started chewing on a pillow, or if you have a soft bed for her, she starts chewing on that, give her something soft like a plush toy. Try and match the texture that she is wanting to chew on, because she's going to chew based on what she feels like her mouth needs. So if she wants to chew on shoelaces, give her a rope, and just try and match that. And what I'll do is if she went up and started chewing on something, I'd tell her no, and I'd take it away and then replace it with something that she can chew on. That's also going to teach her basically what's yours and what's hers. Now the other side to chewing is boredom. Boredom is basically the cause of all disasters with puppies. And there's kind of 2 sides to that. One, she's bored because maybe you guys have a downtime, you're watching a show, reading a book, and she's just going to be laying on her bed. In that case, I'll just give her something to chew on. That way she can just lay down and hang out and chew on it. The other side of boredom is if she gets bored with her own objects or the things that she has. So if she were to get up and leave this bully stick, I'm going to immediately take it away. That way she doesn't have free access to it. I don't give her free access to any of her things. That way there's still some excitement with the object. You're kind of preserving the integrity of that. As well as you can kind of rotate things. And she's not going to get bored with her things because she always has access to them and go find something new to chew on. Instead, you're going to have a number of new things that you can add in. So yeah. And then the next manner we'll talk about is her mouth. Sometimes she can get excited and have a hard mouth. And so it's important that you use the command gently. And this is also going to help you with her jumping. Because anytime I ask her to do something and then I'm going to give her a treat, I like to have her sit, and I'm just going to tell her gently, and I expect her to be very cautious taking the food out of my hand. It's also important that you never give her the food between your thumb and forefinger. That way you're just asking her to bite your fingers. Instead, it's always in the palm of my hand. That way if she did lunge up, I'm just going to close my hand and pull it back. But I'll also keep my hand closed until she's calm. And so I'll tell her gently, and if she was just really going at it, I would just wait until she kind of calm down, and that way she can't really bite my whole fist. And so then I just tell her gently and just expect her to be very cautious taking that treat. So with that, now we're going to show you her obedience commands. And the first command that we're going to talk about is the watch me command. That's the most basic command we do, and all I'm looking for is her eye contact. And so if I can get her to be distracted, well, even you can see she's staring at this tree. No, she's going to just keep looking at me. Might just have to throw that one in randomly. But all I'm looking for is that eye contact. And the reason there is because once you get that eye contact, you know that you have her focus. That's a good command just to throw in randomly, just to work on quite a bit, gets her used to the way that you say things. And it's a very important command because it can save you, whether you're cooking and drop something on the floor you don't want her to get, you can ask her to look up and look at you, as well as maybe if she was chasing after something, you can just stop her and get her to look at you. And that's why it's so important that you keep this command really, really positive. I'll practice it quite a few times, just giving her treats, and so there's always a positive reward. Watch me. Okay, good girl. Associated with it. Yeah, she's not going to look away. But she does have great focus, so that's a good thing. Sit. Gently. So, I might just throw that one in randomly while we're going through. You can just watch for her head to pop up and her to make eye contact with me. But where she is just kind of really focused, we'll just keep going. So the next command we're going to talk about is her come command. And so that's probably your most important command that you have. And the expectation is that she comes to me. That's the one command that I'm going to reward her before she even sits. As soon as she gets here, I'm rewarding the behavior. And I'll also always lead with her name in that case. And so it's important if you do change her name that you can treat it just like watch me. Get her to look away. Maybe. I'll put the treat right here. Jane! Okay, good girl. And once she makes eye contact, teach her name that way. Very easy to do. We don't use her name a lot, just in case you do choose to change it. But I do like to use it with the come command. And so what I'll do is just ask her, Jane, come! Good girl. It is really hard to show in here, but she has a phenomenal come command. We've worked on it a lot outside with different distractions, and she's done really, really well. Jane, come! Good girl, good girl. So, where that come command is the most important command, it's really important that you don't kill that command, because that is one command that a lot of people do kill. And what I mean by that is that if you overuse a command or you don't use it properly, they'll get to a point where they just know that it's not positive anymore. Something negative is going to happen when they come to you. So instead, they'll either ignore you or they'll run the opposite direction and turn it into a game. And so the first thing I mentioned, overuse. If you're in the house and you're real close, you don't have treats on you, you're not necessarily working on it, don't ask her to come. Instead, do something like, come here. Something like that to get her attention. Don't use that come command. You don't want to overuse it. The second is, way that people kill it, is by using it in a wrong, just basically at a wrong time. You don't want to ask a command you know they're not going to fulfill. And so if she finds something new, just super intriguing, she's chasing something, getting after it, whatever, she doesn't seem to be paying attention to you at all, don't just ask her to come, and don't repeatedly ask her to come, because you're just going to burn it. Instead, in that case, I would want to get her engagement. I would get a toy, or maybe just go hook a leash on her. Just get her focused otherwise. At least until this come command is just really solidified. And so the way that you really solidify it is I keep a rule of 10 to 1. And so anytime that I'm out, I'll call her to come to me to give her a treat, and let her go again. Use it 10 times for that one time that I call her to come and she goes in the crate, or we go inside, or we leave the park. You know, something along that sorts. So instead, just keep it really, really positive. Jane, come! Okay, good girl, good girl. But yeah, don't use it if you don't have to. Keep it very, very positive. She's done really, really well with that. But make sure that, you know, if you do use it when she is very intrigued by something else and she comes running back to you, that you are just super positive, very proud of her, give her lots of loves, treats. It's very, very important that if you call your dog to come, even if they are doing something that they are not supposed to, and you call them to come and they turn around and come to you, that you absolutely do not punish your dog. If you punish your dog after you've called her to come, she will no longer come to you. That's just the way that it goes. So, but she's done really well with that, and that's a great one to practice outside with a bag full of treats, especially, you know, you're out in the backyard. Call her to come, give her a treat, let her go again, let her continue to play. Do that 10 times for the one time that you call her to come and you go inside. So, the next 3 commands, well, 4 commands have hand signals, and so sit is a scoop over the nose, just like that. Down, I'll take my hand flat, and I'll take her down, and then stay is a stop sign. And so, come. So sit, down, stay. Now she has great puppy stays. We're up past 20 seconds, but don't be satisfied with that. Always mix in those 3Ds: distance, duration, distraction. Build those commands up. Practice going out of her sight. Like I said, talking is a huge distraction. Throwing treats, balls, anything like that. Okay, good girl. Now, she also has, come here. She has a command for her sit stay. Nope. Come here. Sit. Stay. She's just trying to guess what I want her to do before I actually asked her. So, like I said, add those distractions. I can throw treats on the floor. Okay, good girl. Good girl. Now, I'll show you those commands again. Sit, down, and then of course the stay, which I'm not going to ask her to stay right now, just where we just did it. Now, the next two commands don't necessarily have hand signals, but I always put myself in a position where she can read my body language. And so, for instance, for the crate command, I'm going to be step close to it, and I'll point, Jane, crate. And the reward comes when she goes in, because some of the time you will be closing the gate. Okay, good girl. Crate. Now, that's another command that's very easy to kill, like the come command. Okay. And that will happen if you only use that command to lock her up. Instead, I like to keep do a handful of repetitions before you lock her up at night. Or just randomly throughout the day, if you're near the crate, walk over and ask her to go in. Now, when I tell her to go in, she's expected to stay. If she goes in on her own, she's free to come and go as she pleases. So once again, crate. Good girl. And being released is a reward in itself. So I'll give her the treat when she goes in, because some of the time you will be locking her up. When she comes out, that is the reward. Okay, good girl. Now, very similar would be the go to bed command. Jane, go to bed. I don't care what position she's in, as long as all four paws are on the bed, and she is also expected to stay there. Okay, good girl. Once again, go to bed. Good girl. Huh? She rears up like that. I'm just going to close my hand. She doesn't get the reward until she's planted. Okay, good girl. Good girl. Yeah. Now, both the stays on her bed and in the crate when you're doing stuff like this are around 20-30 seconds, so you can constantly build those up. Those stays are a lot easier to build up to long periods of time because they actually have a physical boundary, and so you can use that to your advantage. And she's done great with her commands. Once again, before you start asking for these commands with high expectations, make sure that you build a relationship first and that she starts to see you as the leader. And once she starts to develop that leadership and that trust with you, then you'll see those commands come right back up to our expectation and then surpassed. But with that, that concludes our commands. Now we will talk about the crate training and the leash training for just a minute. So the crate training, we have spent a lot of time making sure that she is comfortable in the crate, that she's not going to whine, and she's not going to have accidents. And she has done really well. And so right now, she can do up to 4-hour blocks during the day, and she'll sleep 8 hours through the night. So along with that, we put her to bed at 10, and then she gets out between 6 and 7. The reason I put her to bed at 10 is because I like to feed him at 6, and so that way I give her a good 4 hours to really clear her system before I put her in the crate for the night. And then in the morning, I'll let her out, let her go to the bathroom, and then I'll bring him back in and I'll feed her. And so usually she's fed by about 7:30 in the morning. When I do feed him, I give her a cup and a half every meal, so morning and night. And also the water, for the first little bit, I would restrict the water, give it to her with her meals, and then 3 or 4 times throughout the day. Just that'll help you with the house training, as well as she won't have accidents in the crate. So she's done really well in the crate, but this transition period often causes them to have to go to the bathroom more frequently. Also will cause her to get a loose stool. And so if you put her up for the night and she starts whining in the middle of the night, maybe around 2 or 3, she probably has to go to the bathroom. And a lot of that's going to be because of the stress of the transition. And so what I would do is I'd let her out, take her outside, let her go to the bathroom, and then put her right back in the crate. It's really important that she doesn't get to play, she doesn't get loved on or anything like that if she whines in the crate. The only time she gets out if she's whining in the crate is to go to the bathroom and then put right back in. Now the other thing that could happen is that, she's in a new place, she's a little bit stressed out, she's enjoyed, your guys' company, and so when you put her in for the night, she starts to whine because she doesn't want to be in there, she wants to be with you, or maybe she can see you guys out of the crate. In that case, it's important that you leave her in there and let her kind of whine it out. If you would like, you can give her a bully stick to calm her down, kind of distract her, as well as you can throw a blanket over the crate, make sure that she can't see you and it's darker. I'll never put toys or rawhides in the crate. I don't like to use rawhides, period. They're too dangerous. But bully sticks are great, as well as marrow bones. She has done really well in the crate. She will whine if she needs to go, and so if she does in the middle of the night, just let her out. Let's see. So now we'll talk about the house training, as well as I'll show you how to transition the bell. First off, the most important thing to house train, for house training a dog, is 100% supervision. That is just one thing that you just have to have. There's no way around it. 100% supervision. If you can't give her that supervision, say, I don't know, something's going on, you're cooking, you just can't focus on her, put her in the crate. She's very comfortable in there. That way she's not going to have an accident in your house. You're going to be able to concentrate on whatever you're doing. So 100% supervision. I know a lot of people that have tethered their dog to them for the first little bit. That way she never leaves their side. Also, blocking off part of your house. Baby gates are awesome. And really the reason is she's in a new environment, new place. She doesn't know her way around. It's very easy for her to get lost in a back room and then end up having an accident, as well as stressful. She just goes right where she's standing. And so it's really important that you have her right there close to 100% supervision. So she has done very, very well with the house training, very well targeting the bell. She understands what it means. Every time she's hit the bell in the last couple weeks, she's went to the bathroom, so that's awesome. Now, the way that we transition the bell, or the way that I like to do it, is by targeting the bell. So I'm going to remove the other ones, just because as soon as I do this, it's going to really draw her to the bell to start ringing it more frequently, which for the first couple days at your house is what you want. You want her to ring the bell a lot. That way you're getting the repetitions of, one, she's seeing the bell, seeing where it's at in your house. She's also understanding that it means to go outside, to go to the bathroom, and come right back in. And so I'll start by targeting the bell. And so what I'll do is I'll take a treat and I'll break it up real small so I don't just overload her. And I'm just going to hang the bells right here and stare at them. And every time she touches them, I'll mark it. But I'm just going to stare at the bells. Okay, good girl. So it is alright if it takes a little bit extra time, you can jingle them, but the reason I do it this way is because, okay, it's allowing her to really process what we're doing. She's actually thinking about it instead of being so focused on the treat that she doesn't understand what we're doing. Instead, she has to think about it and figure it out. Okay, good girl, good girl. Make it really positive when she does. And then once she starts being a little bit more persistent on ringing them, okay, we'll move over to the door. Okay, good girl. Your own treats. Okay, good girl. Good girl. Okay, good girl. Okay, good girl. You can see she's getting just a little bit quicker at it. So now I'm going to move over to the door. And I'll hang him up. And once again, just going to stare at him. Okay, good girl. Okay, good girl. Okay, you can see that now she's caught on. And so now I'm going to switch the wording. Okay, outside. Okay, outside. Okay, outside. Where she's starting to rear up, I'll hesitate just a little bit. Okay, outside to give her the treat. Now I'm going to take her outside on this one. Okay, outside. Okay. Okay. Now if I were to do that at your house, I'd immediately take her back, have her ring the bell a couple more times, go back outside, and I would at least go outside another 3-4 times. Just make sure that you get the repetitions of her going outside. When she goes, I'm going to say, "Get outside, good girl." I'm going to make it very positive. You want to make sure that she understands that that's the correct behavior. And I'll give her, maybe a minute or two to look around and sniff and to go. And after that, if she doesn't go, I'm just going to come right back inside. No emotion, no positive rewards, anything like that. It's just coming right back inside. But it's important that you get the repetitions. And so over the next 2 days, I would take her out every 30 minutes. So I just set a timer. Every 30 minutes, walk her over to the door, give her an opportunity to ring it, and then go outside. The one exception to that is if she is in the crate, you don't need to get her out every 30 minutes. But, and when that timer goes off, I just walk her to the door, stare at the bells, and she'll ring them, take her outside. So after the next couple days of doing that, you can start to really lengthen that time frame, go to 45 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. Also lengthen yourself from, between you and the door, but still be in an area where you can focus on the door. That way she's trying to read your body language. She's going to notice, kind of what you're directed towards. And so, yes, the next probably 2 weeks of transitioning this over will be a little crazy, but I promise you that it works. She's done just phenomenally here, and so labs also transition a little bit quicker, so it might not even take that long. But if you follow those instructions, you won't have any issues. The way you got to think of it is 2 weeks of a little inconvenience for a completely house-trained dog. So a couple things to look for if she has to go to the bathroom. One, if she starts sniffing real heavily, or if she starts doing circles, she's probably got to go to the bathroom. Also, I'll take her out after she wakes up. Whether she's been in the crate for 30 minutes or 8 hours overnight, I would just take her to the bell, let her ring it, go outside. Same thing as if she's been inside sleeping on her bed for over 30 minutes, she's probably got to go, so just take her out. Within about an hour of her eating, she probably has to go as well. So, also, I'll keep a leash attached to her. That way, if she were to squat or need to go to the bathroom, it gives me a quick way to grab her and rush her outside. Now, it's important that if she does start to have an accident, you need to make it into a negative experience. And so if she started to pee, I would stomp, I'd clap, no, and I'm just going to grab her and run her outside really quick. And then if she were to finish outside, I'll give her a reward, tell her, "Good girl, get outside." Try and make it as black as white as possible. Hopefully she never squats in your house, but if she does, that's what you need to do. Like I said, she's just done phenomenally with the house trained, but it's important that you give her 100% supervision. So, if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Give me a call. She has done really, really well, so I'm excited to see how she does in your home. With that, we'll jump over to our last portion, which is her leash work, and we'll go outside and I'll show you her walk. So we take our dogs on two types of walks. The first is a long lead or an off-leash walk. And that walk is basically just for them to be a dog. We take them into the hills, we take them to the lake or the river, and I just want them to be able to run around. But until she's completely responding to me and I know she's going to come back, she's kept on a long leash. And so when I do that type of walk, every minute or two I will call her to come, give her a treat, let her go again. That way I'm keeping her close, she's checking in, as well as I'm really working on that come command. But during that walk, she's allowed just to kind of run free, be a dog. It's great for their mental health and allows them to, burn some energy off too. And I like to do that type of walk at least once a week. And then daily you should do some type of walk as well as play fetch or go outside and really exercise, because labs do need quite a bit of exercise. So the next type of walk is our attention walk. Come here. And so that type of walk is done with a short leash. I like to use about a 4-foot leash, and I expect her by my side. We call it our attention walk, first off, but I like her by my side, periodically checking in. She shouldn't be pulling, as well as she shouldn't be distracted by the things around her. And so we do have two commands there. First is let's go, just signifying we're moving. And the second would be easy if she starts to pull. Now if she starts to pull, there's a couple things to remember. One is the leash correction. So 2 pops and I'll tell her easy. The other thing is I'm going to root myself. She's never allowed to pull through. If she starts to pull, give her that command easy. If she doesn't immediately put the slack back into the leash, I'm going to turn around, walk the other way. Do that until she regains her composure, then turn around and walk back towards the distraction. It may take you 4 or 5 times of doing that to get past the distraction, but as soon as she re-engages with you, make it really positive. So it's more positive to her to interact with you than the distraction around. And so we're going to go outside and I'll show you that walk. So when I do this type of walk, I like to have them sit before I start. That way it just gets her focus on me a little bit. And then I'm going to reward her periodically when she does focus on me. Keeps her engagement. And so I'm just going to tell her, let's go. This is what I want, this loose leash. Her constantly checking in with me. Good girl. If she were to pull, I'll see if I can get her to. I tell her. Which if she's focused on me, I mean that's great, right? So I'm gonna tell her easy. And I expect her to walk back to me. Come on this way. Let's go. When I do stop, I ask her to sit. That way she's not wrapping me up. But, so yeah, let me know if you have any questions. But she's just done great. Let's go. So I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. I hope you found it helpful. Jane really is just a wonderful dog. Real fun personality. I think you're going to enjoy her. But if you do have any questions, whether it be about the training or about her, please let me know. Don't hesitate to ask any of the questions, because that way if there is an issue that comes up, we can take care of it immediately. Because she is just a really wonderful dog and has done great in her training. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy your puppy.